Even Jeff Bezos messed up his past software demos. Yours could mess up too. Many sales specialists, account executives have had their demos ruined by mistakes that lose the deal before it even starts. The good news is, you can stop these mistakes and make your own demos win deals instead. Last time, I talked about 3 mistakes. Today, I'll talk about 3 more. And the last mistake I'll be sharing is the most overlooked. And honestly, it is the one that makes or breaks the deal. I'll talk about real mess-ups like showing a demo that doesn't match what the person really needs, or using big company names and stories that don't even matter to them, or even wrapping up a demo without asking what they should do next or what's happening next. You'll see how sales team at Amazon and few successful tech startups make demos personal to keep people interested, and how they use the right stories to build trust. The good part is the framework works for any industry, any scale, at any stage of business. So let's break it down. I've already talked about feature dumping, over-talk through the demos, and build up without hook mistake. Now, I'm going to mistake number 4, which is one size fits all. So usually during demo, you'll notice the buyer can see how connects to their problem. It's a very common mistake. So they don't see this from their problem perspective and how it can be solved. And on average, these kind of demos that fall flat runs around 30 to 36 minutes max. But when a demo is done right, buyers stick around longer and around 47 minutes. This is when you know you did an incredible job. Not because the representative is dragging them out, but because the buyer actually wants to stay in the conversation. And the reason they stay is very simple. The demo feels like a real back and forth. The reps ask questions, listens, and makes it about the buyer instead of dumping features. Even AWS had to learn this. Back in the early days, the reps would pack demos with every feature they could think of. Within 10 minutes, buyers had already checked out. One account executive at AWS tried something different. He started with a single question: what's your biggest bottleneck? And he built everything from there. He started to walk them through how AWS solved one thing that they are dealing with, and the demos led to proposals and obviously second meetings, which led to finalizing deals. So if one shift like this can transform your demo, why would it be easy for you to do it? So if one shift like that can transform a demo, what would happen if you stack those 4 exact steps that sales leader implement to close deals? And the first one will be, obviously in the first few minutes, you want to set the tone for the whole demo. So even if you spend at least 5 minutes looking them up on different channels like LinkedIn, or looking their website and see who are they partnering with, all this information are super valuable when you want to start a conversation. For example, like a CEO, they don't care so much about a marketing activity in general. So if you start something like this, it would be irrelevant. What they would be caring about is the new hire they hired in their new Singapore office. And then you can build a conversation from there. They don't want to hear a random pitch. They want to hear their own story. That's what you're trying to achieve. And once you frame it around them, the next question is, how do you keep that personal touch without rebuilding the demo from scratch every time? Which brings me to the second step. Most reps show the same flow to every buyer. A CFO doesn't care about the same slides an engineer wants to see. A healthcare prospect doesn't want to see a retail use case. The way around it isn't to rebuild slides every single time. That would be incredible pain. So how to do it? Keep one clean core demo, then add few small modules you can swap in. What worked for me was keeping one standard flow and few small add-on slides. For example, we had these 3 personas: CFOs, CTOs, and business dev. If a CFO was in the room, I'd show how numbers made sense for their business. And we will talk back and forth about the value of how they can save money on these kind of services. If it was a CDO, I would walk through the tech stack and integrations and how it's seamless. Same demo at the core, it's just that where I'm gonna emphasize on, and I can add one slide that will be heavily fixated for the CFO's POV, or one slide will be fixated for the CTO's point of view. So not only I would dig deeper on that, what I would do is, if I'm having a conversation with a CEO, I will go and check his track record. What background does he have? If it's an IT background, he's most likely focused a lot on integrations and all of the tech stack. But if that same CEO has been coming from a marketing background or a sales background, it will be a completely different story to tell. That's why it worked for every single buyer I have talked to on the demo, because I literally know their background, their track record, try to relate to slides that would be relevant to them. Probably the next logical question here, how do I connect features to their pain and keep the focus without distracting them? That would bring me to the third step, which is anchor every feature to their pain. See, the thing is, that's a very important move. Don't just show a feature. Tie it back to something they told you during the demo. So this is where you are coming up with some golden nuggets in the early demo, where you're taking whatever they are sharing and using it and matching it with your feature. So for example, you've mentioned your team works in silo. Let's say that you're having a demo with the CEO and he's mentioning to you that their team is working in silos. This feature pulls everything into one view so they don't waste hours chasing updates. So you're gonna use their pain points with your feature and it will connect it towards whatever he was dealing with. Now the feature isn't random anymore. He will feel like, you know what, that kind of makes sense. So every single feature you are bringing up about your software should match most of their pain points and micro pain points that they have highlighted. And I use this on every single demo I have done. Instead of piling on features and like all this ridiculous slides, like, you know, you see the bullet points, oh, we have this, we have this, we have this, we have this, or us versus competitors. These kind of stuff, it's not working anymore in your demos and it doesn't really give good conversions. I would slow down and link each one feature I had back to the problem in their own wording. So buyer stayed with me all the way to the end because it felt like I was demoing their workflow, not my product. And that's the whole point. And once you have tied every feature back to their pain, you have earned their attention, but not yet their trust. And at this point, most buyers are silently asking, who else like me has actually pulled this off? And if you miss that moment, all the momentum you've been building will vanish. That's why this kind of proof you should show next would matter more than the demo itself. Which brings me to step 4, which is using proof that looks like them. So look, if you flash a logo wall or tell some story about a giant enterprise the buyer on the demo with you is, they wouldn't relate. Instead of building trust, it does the opposite. So generic case studies would kill trust. You have to pick a story from their industry or a company of their size. That way, they don't just simply see you as a product or a service. They see you as their playbook that has been validated with similar companies. And that's will bring me to mistake number 5, which is misusing social proof. And I'm sure all of us did this thing. You probably shared a giant logo slide before many times and without context, like these are the companies we worked with, Microsoft, Google, and you hope those big names will build instant trust and credibility to your company. But think from this perspective. If you are a 200-person bank and you see that, what would you think? We are nothing like them. And that's exactly what happened in a demo I sat on. A regional bank stared at the slide full of Fortune 500 companies and the room went quiet, especially on that slide. It was slightly awkward. The VP, the one we were demoing, he did say, we are not maybe the right fit for that because we're not similar to these kind of companies and these kind of sizes. Instead of we building a credibility from the early stage in the demo, it ended up backfiring because those proofs were irrelevant. The truth is, prospects don't care so much who else were you working with. What they care about is what problems you solved for companies that look like them. So here's how to get it right. Less is more. One story that matches their worlds and beats any slide of 50 logos. Just one story. The second one will be lead with outcomes. If you only have big clients, frame it around result, not names. Start with the endpoint. 3, switch to proof type. So sometimes quote statistics or even a reference is way better than a logo. 4, mash the room, right? So a CTO wants to hear another tech team and their success about how the API integrated, blah, blah, blah. Or a CFO wants to hear someone saved $1 million in a year using your service. So match it. And if you don't have it, do not fake it. Stay on their use case and show them the logic. Buyers respect honesty more than a wall of logos. Even if you've nailed everything so far and you watched this video up until now, there's still one more mistake that sneaks in and will ruin the whole thing. This is very important, which is mistake number 6, weak closing. You can run the sharpest demo ever and you will still lose a deal. You know why? Because you blew the whole idea of closing. Like, for example, things that I always hear every single time. Well, okay, all right, we'll send you this deck over. Anything else? Or you know what? Okay, bye. It was nice speaking to you. Maybe you can discuss it internally and let us know what makes sense for you. This is when the buyer leaves excited, but with no plan. And the time you follow up, the energy and the momentum, it's gone. According to Gong's data, it shows clearly that losing representatives often skip setting time for next steps. It's like showing someone a great movie trailer, but forgetting to tell them where to buy the tickets from. I have been in this firsthand. A founder I coached gave an amazing demo. The buyer kept nodding, liking every single slide, relates to it. He asked all the smart questions. He understood the bottlenecks, everything. He connected every single feature with their problem. It was beautiful. He didn't show much logos. What he did, he just simply showed his one use case that would relate to that buyer. He just simply say, well, I'll send you some materials. That's it. I don't get it. And then a week later, obviously silence via email, and then one more follow-up, still silence. And guess what? He got a very ridiculous email from the buyer saying, we are looking other options, or we're checking other options, because the momentum is gone. He doesn't feel you anymore. So here's how top sales leader close it right. Save time to close. So don't wait for the clock to run out. 10 minutes, you know what? My demo's almost finishing. You can always say, before we wrap it up, let's talk about next step. Or you can simply say, you can set the frame early. So you can say, by the end of this call, let's either agree on the next step if it makes sense, or let's see if we're the right fit on these features. And then from there, we can move to the next steps. And this just frames the buyer mentality. You know what? Yeah, it makes sense. Fair enough. So now you've earned the right to ask later without feeling pushy, because this is a very interesting point. You need to have a fine line between being pushy and framing their perspective on things and push them to the next step in a very subtle way. So always ask with clarity as well. Sounds like you're excited about cutting support tickets. The next step maybe would be going for our 2-week pilot test and see how that worked for you. Would Monday work for you to kick things off? So you can always go back. So this is a very subtle way to do it. So based on whatever you've told me, this is my solution, and I think that makes sense. Let's do a pilot test, or let's kickstart everything by Monday. Would that work for you? Or you can always say, especially during the demo, they will always tell you, well, look, I need to check with my CTO and my VP on that. And you can always go into your end of the demo, say, you know what, let's bring your VP and CTO into a call next week. Tuesday work for you guys. So you can see that there's a buyer committee and you want to get them all in the next demo. So your next CTA in that demo would not be, let's kick off our collaboration. It would be, let's invite your buyer committee, CTO and VP to the next meeting. You know why? Because nobody ever will share the same energy that you're sharing during the demo, ever. So you need to always get every buyer committee you can think of, if they are mentioned in the demo, to come to the next meeting. And if you're very, very cautious, you would always want to say, would it be okay if I follow up by Friday to hear your decision? So this is also another way. If you're very cautious, you don't want to feel pushy, and there's no other elements that came up during the demo, except like, you know what, I'll look into it, I will check it internally. You can always tell them, when do you plan to follow up? So they can understand that you are not going to be pushy and their mindset is foreign to it. So the point is, do not let the demo fade out. Do not let the momentum go to waste. Buyers respect when you guide them to the next step. And here's the thing that most reps forget. If you don't own the close, the deal doesn't stall. It dies. So that's it, folks. Just stop running demos that bore people to death. Show proof that actually makes sense. And don't forget to ask for the next step. Pretty basic stuff, I know, but you would be shocked on how many smart sales leaders simply blow it up. So if you want to keep sharpening the rest of your sales game, I would recommend to check out this video about right total addressable market with 0 meetings. It will blow your mind, because what's the point of a perfect demo if you're booking with the wrong ICP? I'll see you in the next one. Take care.